Blacks cannot wait on the president. I want it to be known that I'm proud to have Barack Obama as the President of the United States of America. I'm proud of his ability to lead and be a role model. That being said, blacks cannot wait on the President of the United States to make things better for them. President Obama has written another historic chapter in American history. The shift of cultural acceptance has happened in the political spectrum of this country. The people have spoken from all walks of life, genders, and lifestyles. This will be the second term for President Obama's administration and his family. It should be known that even though America still has a black president, he still must work with the House of Representatives and the Congress. This will make another 4 years a challenge to make continued progressive change for our country. The reality is there is still prejudice and racism in America, not, in my opinion, in the gross levels that the news media tends to show. If racism was so bad, I do not believe that President Obama would be our president for another 4 years. Voting creates change. This shows that even the media must be scrutinized for their political views and the influence they try to generate in the society. My direction in this blog is, where do blacks go from here? Where do blacks go? What direction economically, educationally, and politically should be traveled? Blacks have the best role model that they could have, a black president, and truly, unmistakably, a black First Lady in Michelle Obama. The other cool part about this is they have 2 black children. The most powerful man in the free world, the commander-in-chief of the most technologically advanced and sophisticated and weaponized military in the world. He is a product of the educational system of the United States of America. He struggled in school, was bullied, and not the best student all the time. He shares this with other students as he speaks at schools around the country and takes the time to build students up to see their potential and become greater than he is. This is the ultimate role model, one who acknowledges his flaws and weaknesses and always works to pull the youth up to pass his accomplishments in their future. So why are too many blacks still caught in mental and emotional slavery, claiming there are no good role models? Even Jacksonville, Florida has a great role model in Mayor Alvin Brown. He is visible in the community, supportive of public education, and sets a good example as a father, husband, community activist, and supporter of progressive growth for all people. But blacks should see him as a guide to the importance of education and self-improvement. Similar actions and events took place in 1964 in Cleveland, Ohio, on a different venue, but with the same challenges for blacks. What has happened to the Negro Revolt, and where do we go from here, or what is next? This was stated by Malcolm X, the same person who went through a transformation from thug, hustler, drug dealer, gambler, and other societal deviations to a man that educated himself, became a father, leader, and a role model. Don't, and I repeat, don't look down on this man because some of our politicians, priests, preachers, bishops, and even educators from the past, their past have remained hidden from us. Their past could have been scrutinized from their past actions. Malcolm X stated that, in my little humble way of understanding, it points toward either the ballot or the bullet. This reference is addressing the political situation of blacks during the turbulent times of the 60s and seems to be present in the 21st century. During the 60s, there was no Barack Obama making eloquent, intellectual, and moving speeches. There was Adam Clayton Powell, minister of Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York. There was Dr. Martin Luther King of Atlanta, Georgia. There was also Asa Philip Randolph of Jacksonville, Florida, a civil rights activist. There was also Rutledge Pearson of Jacksonville, Florida, also a civil rights activist, and Reverend Gallimeson, a minister in New York, involved in the school boycotts to eliminate segregated education. And there are also many more. These were real people with dedication and a vision to make progressive change to benefit blacks. Their legacy will live, but too many blacks have forgotten them. There have always been role models for black men and women, but truth be told, blacks must take responsibility and accountability to make progressive change by unification and working collaboratively. Making a commitment that needs to last beyond protest, religious radicalism, as some would say, songs, dance, videos, raps, and pledges. There needs to be real, honest commitment. The commitment that lasts beyond the doors of churches on Sunday mornings, designed to make blacks feel good and accept their plight of second-class citizens, as some would say. Diminishing political power, which should not happen, and dwindling economic development that is sometimes seen in many neighborhoods. Where do blacks go now that the jubilation and excitement is over, since the election is done? The time to work is now. The time to establish a vision and mission is now. Civic and community problems still are alive and well. In order to solve these challenges, it will take the collective wills and hard work that is found during the 50s, 60s, and the 70s. That self-determination seems to have died, evaporated, even as the lyrics of "We Shall Overcome" have evaporated from the minds of millions of blacks because of their perceived freedoms that are as transparent as their abilities to seek to improve themselves beyond their current positions. Satisfied in too many cases to live mouth to mouth or month to month on welfare, food stamps, and as a second or third class citizen with a third or fourth class education. Complaining because there is so much to do and so much that needs to accomplish, but unfortunately unwilling to go back to school or finish school to get a proper education. Complaining because they are so used to getting a third-class handout that their cries seem to sound like the cries of slaves that accepted their servitude with exuberance and satisfaction. The comments by Malcolm X rings truthful even in the 21st century. It's time for us to submerge our differences and realize that it is best for us to first see that we have the same problem, a common problem, a problem that is infecting all of us as a culture. Our so-called political leaders complain, blame, degrade, and demean President Obama. But my question is, after all these years, why have they not motivated blacks to improve their lives instead of blaming President Obama? Why are they not visiting inner-city schools, homeless shelters, welfare lines, food stamp facilities to work to give a hand up, not lip service and empty promises? How can our religious leaders, not all of them, just some of them, lay claim to being like Jesus or disciples when they tear down President Obama, or when they talk about single mothers working 2 or 3 jobs trying to raise their children. They also lyrically damn him just as Judas sold out Jesus for 30 pieces of gold. President Obama is not Jesus, but he represents our country to the world. He should be respected, held accountable, but not openly disrespected in public view. Why wait for a black man that is supposed to be the President of the United States, not the President of just blacks? Black people will disagree with me, but that is the beauty of living in a nation of freedoms such as the United States of America. We can agree to disagree and not be jailed, beaten, or killed in other nations. Self-proclaimed intellectuals, talk show hosts, entertainers, and others make demands and threats to the president. They sound just as the others that are of lighter shade and from European heritage, that openly disrespect and ridicule the man and the office of the presidency. What have their past contributions been to support education, entrepreneurialism, racial equality? How have they helped homeless children? How have they helped veterans suffering from combat fatigue? Or how have they helped veterans that have suffered devastating losses, physically, financially, or emotionally? How have our so-called leaders helped single mothers and the other social ills destroying black families? I agree that President Obama must be held accountable, but he cannot cure all the social ills that plague blacks. Just as our economy was destroyed by someone else, blacks have allowed themselves to be castrated physically, psychologically, economically, and educationally by blaming others for their inaction, inattention, and ignorance to what needs to be done. If you do not believe me, look at our inactive parents that refuse to come to parent-teacher conferences at our schools. Look at the lack of support for school PTOs, parent advisory councils at schools that need parents to participate and support and listen to the excuses that drown out the cries of screaming babies as girls, unfortunately, lay on their backs and make babies, but refuse to respect teachers and learn to read to improve their lives first before being involved in relationships that create children. The cycle continues through each generation, becoming a slave to welfare and drowning deeper in hellfare and poverty. Too many black young men would rather rap, dance, be comedians, and sag than engage in learning. They bully their peers that want to be intellectuals. They bully their peers that want to be scholars. They bully their peers that want to be scientists. They bully and mock their peers that want to be educators. And they bully and look down on their peers that want to be politicians to improve our world. Too many black young men would rather be hard and ignorant instead of being educated, empowered, and engaged. Anthony Butler Jr., founder of E3 Business Group, displays a unique change during his transformation in a unique presentation that shows how you can grow from a thug to an entrepreneur. This empowering presentation should be seen by many black youth. It is called Accuse Yourself of Success. Malcolm X made a profound statement that we all catch hell in one way or another, whether you're educated or illiterate, whether you live on the boulevard or in the alley, you're all going to catch hell. We're all in the same boat and we all are going to catch the same hell. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It doesn't matter how much education you have. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have. If blacks do not work together, eventually we will all catch the same hell. The idea is, if we have differences, let us differ in the closet. When we come out in front, let us not have anything to argue about until we finish making progressive and lasting changes in black people. There seems to be a complacency and acceptance of being third-class citizens for too many blacks. It should not take the death of a Trayvon Martin or Jordan Davis or any more young black men and women to unify people against injustices in the criminal system and self-hatred in our communities. It should not take the threat of cutting welfare, diminishing of food stamps, and elimination of government handouts for blacks to finally get that they need to be educated. Skills and the ability to support themselves in good times and bad come from the proper education. Are blacks so hard to understand how empowering education is? What is our past legacy? Our children need to learn this. Blacks can't wait on the president. The president has made numerous speeches. To what end? Blacks have to want to change, want to work to be better, want to have political and economic equality. Until then, blacks will be politically, economically, and educationally blaming others, even those that already have claimed to make it. There are many challenges in our society, and we need to work collectively to change them. Change can only come from within. When blacks are tired of being beaten into economic slavery of poverty, the slavery of psychological ignorance, of accepting their place, of accepting failure in schools, of accepting self-destruction of drugs, the visual slavery and auditory slavery of music videos that glorify sex, cultural violence, and the slavery of producing children that are born into ignorance and taught ignorance, will learn ignorance and stay ignorant until they are jailed or killed. That is the perception of too many people that they have of blacks. If you are angry, good. Go out and volunteer at a soup kitchen, a homeless shelter, the library to teach people to read. Go to your child's school and support teachers, not curse them out for trying to teach your child. Tutor and mentor a young child. Volunteer at a homeless shelter. Volunteer at a soup kitchen. Volunteer someplace that benefits your community. Tutor and mentor a young person. Take yourself back to school and you earn your degree, or you earn a certification that will help you. If you cannot do these simple things to be a better person, then you are always part of the problem, not part of the solution. The institution of slavery is still present and strong, but instead of the fields, as there once were in the past of the plantations, there are the jail cells of prisons. There are the cells of ignorance, of mental slavery and emotional slavery, and denial ending in death and destruction, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. Do something to better yourself. Thank you.